I thought I knew what trust looked like. I thought it looked like 10 years of marriage, like inside jokes and shared routines, like knowing someone's coffee order by heart. I thought it looked like the kind of confidence that lets you say something wild and unconventional because you're so secure in what you have that nothing could possibly shake it. I was wrong. My name is Lauren, and this is the story of how I destroyed my marriage with a gift I thought was generous, how I died on a rainy highway trying to escape the aftermath, and how I woke up 6 months earlier with the chance to make different mistakes. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start with the anniversary. Our 10th anniversary, specifically. A decade of marriage to Marcus, my college sweetheart, the man I'd built my entire adult life around. We'd met at 21, married at 24, and spent the next 10 years being what I thought was happy. We had a comfortable house in the suburbs of Charlotte, 2 cars, good jobs, and the kind of marriage that looked perfect from the outside. The cracks were there, of course. They always are. But I'd gotten very good at not seeing them. Marcus was a commercial real estate agent, successful and charming in that easy way that made people want to buy things from him. I worked in HR at a mid-sized tech company, the kind of job that paid well but never felt particularly meaningful. We had date nights on Thursdays, visited his parents every other Sunday, and had sex about twice a month with the kind of efficiency that suggested we were both just checking a box. But we were fine. We were solid. Or so I told myself. The whole pass idea came to me about a month before our anniversary. I'd been listening to a podcast during my commute, one of those modern relationship therapy shows where everyone is very evolved and open-minded about non-traditional arrangements. They were discussing the concept of a hall pass, a pre-agreed upon, one-time permission to sleep with someone else. The idea was that it could actually strengthen a relationship by removing the taboo, by proving that your bond was strong enough to survive it. It sounded progressive, trusting, mature. I brought it up to Marcus over dinner one night, half joking at first. What would you think about doing something unconventional for our anniversary? He looked up from his phone. Like what? Like a hall pass. One night, no questions asked, we each get to be with someone else if we want to. Just to prove we're secure enough in what we have. I expected him to laugh. To say it was a ridiculous idea. Instead, he set his phone down and looked at me with genuine interest. You're serious? I mean, we don't have to actually use it. But the idea is kind of freeing, isn't it? Like we trust each other enough not to be threatened by it. He was quiet for a moment, then smiled. That's actually really cool of you, Lauren. I don't know if I'd use it, but yeah, that could be interesting. The fact that he didn't immediately say no should have been my first clue. We set the parameters over the next few weeks. It would be the weekend of our anniversary, Friday and Saturday night. We'd each stay somewhere else, him at a hotel, me at my friend Chelsea's place. No questions asked afterward. Clean slate on Sunday. I felt weirdly proud of myself. Look how evolved we are, I thought. Look how secure. My sister Jenna thought I was insane. You're giving Marcus permission to cheat on you. She was sitting on my couch, drinking wine, looking at me like I'd suggested setting the house on fire for fun. It's not cheating if we both agree to it, I said. Lauren, that man is going to use it. You know that, right? Maybe. Maybe not. The point isn't whether we use it. The point is that we could and it wouldn't matter. Jenna was 5 years younger than me, 28 to my 33. She'd always been the pretty one, the fun one, the one who didn't have to try as hard. She'd moved to Charlotte 2 years ago after a bad breakup and had been crashing in our guest room on and off ever since. Marcus and I had helped her find an apartment, helped her get a job at a boutique marketing firm. She was family. I just think it's a bad idea, Jenna said. But hey, your marriage. The weekend arrived. Marcus packed a small bag Friday morning. I kissed him goodbye like it was a normal work trip. Have a good weekend, I said. You too, he said, and there was something in his smile I couldn't quite read. I went to Chelsea's place that night. We drank wine, watched movies, and I tried not to think about where Marcus was or what he was doing. That was the whole point, right? Not thinking about it. Saturday, I felt restless. Chelsea suggested we go out, so we did, dinner at a nice restaurant, then drinks at a bar downtown. A guy hit on me. He was attractive, charming, exactly the kind of person the hall pass was theoretically for. I could have gone home with him. I had permission. I didn't. I went back to Chelsea's and lay awake wondering if Marcus was making a different choice. Sunday morning, I drove home. Marcus's car was already in the driveway. I found him in the kitchen making coffee, looking relaxed and freshly showered. "Hey," he said, smiling. "How was your weekend?" "Good. Quiet. You?" "Same. We didn't talk about it. That was the deal. Clean slate. Except it wasn't clean. Because 3 weeks later, my sister came to Sunday dinner at our house and I noticed something I'd never noticed before. The way Marcus looked at her when she laughed. The way she touched his arm when she talked to him. The way they both seemed just slightly too comfortable with each other. And I knew. I didn't have proof. I didn't have anything concrete. But I knew. I confronted Jenna a week later. She was at our house again, always at our house, and Marcus was working late. I cornered her in the kitchen while she was making tea. "Did you sleep with my husband?" She froze. Just for a second, but it was enough. "What? Lauren, that's..." "During the whole past weekend. Did he use it with you?" Her face went through several expressions, surprise, guilt, defiance, before settling on defensive anger. "You gave him permission." The world tilted. "Not with you. Jesus Christ, Jenna, not with you. You didn't specify." I didn't think I needed to specify not my sister. She set down the tea. "Look, it just happened, okay? We ran into each other Friday night at a bar. We were both drinking. One thing led to another. It was just one night. It didn't mean anything." "You ran into each other. At a bar. Coincidentally." She didn't answer. "How long?" I asked. "How long has this been going on?" "It's not going on. It was just that one night." But I could see the lie in her face. And worse, I could see something else. Something like defiance. Like she thought she had the right. I told her to get out. She left. Marcus came home an hour later and I confronted him too. He admitted it. Said it had started innocently, that they'd gotten close over the past year while she'd been staying with us, that he'd never meant for it to happen but the whole past had given them an opportunity and he'd taken it. "It was just physical," he said, like that made it better. "It doesn't change how I feel about you." I asked him if it had happened more than once. He hesitated too long before saying no. I moved into the guest room that night. I didn't know what to do. Divorce felt too extreme, too final. But staying felt impossible. I was paralyzed by the enormity of it. And then, 5 weeks after the anniversary, Jenna called me. "I need to tell you something," she said. Her voice was shaking. "I don't want to hear it." "Lauren, I'm pregnant." The world stopped. "It's Marcus's." "I know it is. I haven't been with anyone else." I hung up. I sat on the bathroom floor and stared at the wall. I called Marcus at work. "Come home. Now." He came home. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd suggested the hall pass, where I'd been so proud of how evolved we were, and he confirmed it. Jenna was pregnant. He'd been sleeping with her for months, long before the anniversary. The hall pass had just made it easier. "I think I love her," he said quietly. "I didn't mean to. But I think I do." I don't remember much of what I said next. I remember screaming. I remember crying. I remember him trying to calm me down and me throwing a coffee mug that shattered against the wall. I remember grabbing my keys and running to my car. I remember Marcus following me, yelling at me to calm down, to not drive like this. I remember ignoring him and peeling out of the driveway. I remember driving too fast on wet roads, crying so hard I could barely see. I remember the truck running the red light. I remember the impact, the sound of metal crunching, the brief sharp pain, and then nothing. And then I was sitting at my kitchen table. The morning sun was streaming through the window. I was holding a cup of coffee that was still hot. My laptop was open in front of me to a work email I'd been drafting. I looked at the date on my computer screen. March 15th. 6 months before our anniversary. I stood up so fast I knocked the chair over. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. I looked around the kitchen wildly, trying to understand what was happening. The coffee mug I'd thrown at Marcus, the one that had shattered, was sitting intact in the cabinet. The wall was unmarked. I grabbed my phone. No text from Jenna about being pregnant. No missed calls from Marcus asking where I was. Just normal mundane messages about work and groceries and dinner plans. I opened my photo app and scrolled. There were no photos past March 15th. Nothing from April, May, June, July. Nothing from the anniversary weekend. Nothing from the aftermath. I sat back down slowly. Either I was having a complete psychotic break, or I'd somehow gone back in time. Neither explanation made sense. Both terrified me. I called Chelsea. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What day is it?" Monday. March 15th. "Are you okay?" Yeah, I'm fine. Just disoriented. Didn't sleep well." "You sound weird. You sure you're okay?" "I'm fine. I'll call you later." I hung up and sat there, staring at nothing. If this was real, if I'd somehow been given a second chance, what was I supposed to do with it? The obvious answer was, don't give Marcus the hall pass. Don't set up the situation that led to everything falling apart. But the more I sat there, the more I realized it wasn't that simple. Because the affair had started before the anniversary. The hall pass hadn't created the problem. It had just exposed it. If I didn't give Marcus the hall pass, would he and Jenna still end up together? Would it just happen differently, more secretly, until I found out some other way? Or worse, would I spend the next 6 months paranoid and suspicious, watching them, waiting for betrayal, and drive Marcus away with my jealousy over something that hadn't even happened yet? I couldn't tell anyone what I knew. I couldn't explain why I suddenly didn't trust my husband around my sister. How do you say I remember a future where you betrayed me without sounding completely insane? Marcus came downstairs around 8. He kissed the top of my head, the same casual affection that had felt normal yesterday and now felt like a lie. "Morning," he said. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep." "Everything okay?" I looked at him. Really looked at him. He looked younger somehow, less worn. Or maybe I was just seeing him differently now that I knew what he was capable of. "Yeah," I lied. "Everything's fine." He poured himself coffee and started talking about his day, about a big property listing he was working on, about needing to show a building to a client that evening. Normal mundane Monday morning conversation. Jenna wasn't even living with us yet in this timeline. She was still in Atlanta, still with her boyfriend, still 6 months away from the breakup that would send her to Charlotte and into our guest room. Which meant I had time. Time to figure out what to do. Time to decide if I was going to try to save my marriage or accept that it was already broken in ways I hadn't wanted to see. That first week was the hardest. I kept expecting to wake up and find it had all been a dream, both the future I'd lived and this impossible second chance. But every morning I woke up on March 16th, then March 17th, then March 18th. Time kept moving forward. I was really here. I watched Marcus carefully, looking for signs of, what? Guilt? Interest in my sister? Dissatisfaction with our marriage? But he was just Marcus. Normal, pleasant, slightly distant Marcus who came home at reasonable hours and asked about my day and kissed me goodbye in the morning. The distance, though. I noticed it now in a way I hadn't before. The way our conversations stayed surface level. The way we could sit next to each other on the couch and feel miles apart. The way we'd stopped really looking at each other years ago. Had it always been like this? Or had I just stopped noticing? I tried bringing it up one night. "Do you think we're happy?" He looked up from his phone, surprised. "What?" "Our marriage. Do you think we're happy?" That's a weird question. Where is this coming from? I don't know. I've just been thinking lately. We've been together for 10 years and sometimes I feel like we're just going through the motions. Lauren, everyone goes through phases. We're fine. Are we though? He put his phone down, looking slightly annoyed. What do you want me to say? That I'm deliriously happy every second of every day? That's not realistic. We're adults. We have a good life. We're fine. Fine. That word again. What if fine isn't enough? I asked quietly. What are you saying? Do you want a divorce? No. I want us to actually talk to each other. To connect. To be more than just roommates who occasionally have sex. He sighed. I connect with you. We talk every day. We talk about groceries and bills and what time we'll be home. When's the last time we talked about something that mattered? You're being dramatic. And there it was. The dismissal. The refusal to engage with anything uncomfortable. I'd seen it before, or I would see it, in that future timeline, but I'd always let it go. Told myself I was being too sensitive, too demanding. This time I didn't let it go. I'm not being dramatic. I'm trying to tell you I'm lonely in this marriage and you're shutting me down. I'm not shutting you down. I just don't know what you want from me. I work hard, I come home, I'm here. What else do you want? I want you to be present when you're here. I want to feel like you actually see me. I see you. Do you? When's the last time you asked me about something other than what's for dinner? When's the last time you asked me how I'm really doing? Not just as a reflex. He looked uncomfortable. You're making this into a bigger thing than it is. Maybe it is a big thing. Maybe that's the problem. We didn't resolve anything that night. We went to bed in silence, the air between us thick with unspoken resentment. But at least I'd said it. At least I'd tried. The next few weeks passed in a strange limbo. I went to work, came home, made dinner, watched TV. The rhythm of normal life. But everything felt different now. Every interaction with Marcus felt loaded. Every moment of distance between us felt like confirmation that we were broken in ways I didn't know how to fix. And I kept wondering, was the affair inevitable? Was I watching it happen in slow motion? Or could I actually change it? In late April, Jenna called. Blake and I broke up. Blake was her boyfriend. The one she'd been with for 3 years. In my previous timeline, this breakup had happened and I'd offered to let her come stay with us while she figured things out. That decision had set everything else in motion. I'm sorry, I said carefully. Are you okay? Not really. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't afford the apartment by myself and I don't want to stay in Atlanta. Everything here reminds me of him. Here it was. The moment where I'd normally say come to Charlotte, stay with us, take your time. The kind, sisterly thing to do. What about mom and dad? I asked instead. Could you stay with them for a while? Silence. They're in that tiny condo in Florida. There's barely room for them. What about friends? Someone in Atlanta you could crash with? Lauren, I don't have anyone. I was hoping. She paused. I was hoping I could stay with you and Marcus for a bit. Just until I get on my feet. And there it was. The crossroads. The choice. In my first timeline, I'd said yes immediately. I'd been supportive and generous and welcoming. I'd driven to Atlanta to help her pack. I'd set up the guest room with fresh sheets and flowers. I'd introduced her to my friends and helped her job hunt. I'd created the perfect environment for my husband to fall for her. I don't think that's a good idea, I said. The silence on the other end was deafening. What? I just think, you need space to heal from this breakup. And Marcus and I need space in our marriage right now. We're going through some stuff. What stuff? You guys are fine. We're not, actually. And having a house guest right now wouldn't be good for either of us. I can't believe you're saying no. You're my sister. I know. And I love you. But I can't help you this time. She hung up on me. She called back an hour later and apologized, said she understood, said she'd figure something out. But I could hear the hurt in her voice. The betrayal. Marcus was confused when I told him. You said no. Yeah. Why? We have the space. She's family. Because I think it's important for her to figure this out on her own. She's 28. She can't keep relying on us to save her every time something goes wrong. He looked at me like I'd grown a second head. That's pretty harsh. Maybe, but it's my decision. The thing is, I felt guilty. Terribly guilty. Because Jenna hadn't done anything wrong. Not yet. Not in this timeline. She was just a heartbroken 28-year-old who needed help from her family. But I couldn't risk it. I couldn't put her and Marcus in close proximity for months and just hope that nothing would happen. Not when I knew what they were capable of. So instead, I became the sister who said no. The sister who prioritized her marriage over her family. The bad guy. Jenna ended up staying with our parents after all. They made it work somehow, squeezing her into their tiny Florida condo. She got a job at a restaurant. She was miserable, according to the occasional bitter text she sent me. And I tried to fix my marriage. I suggested therapy. Marcus was resistant at first. We don't need therapy, we just need to stop overthinking everything. But I pushed until he agreed. We started seeing a marriage counselor named Dr. Patricia Chen in early May. The first session was awkward. We sat on opposite ends of a couch in her office while she asked us basic questions about our relationship history, our families, our goals for therapy. Lauren, you reached out to me. What brings you here? Dr. Chen asked. I glanced at Marcus, then back at her. I feel like we're disconnected. Like we're living parallel lives instead of actually being partners. And Marcus, how do you feel about that observation? He shifted uncomfortably. I think Lauren's going through something. Maybe a midlife crisis or something. I think our marriage is fine. So you don't share Lauren's concern about disconnection? I mean, sure, we could probably spend more quality time together or whatever. But I don't think it's this big crisis she's making it out to be. Dr. Chen nodded thoughtfully. It's common for partners to have different perceptions of their relationship. Lauren, when you say you feel disconnected, can you give me a specific example? I thought about it. Last week, I had a really hard day at work. My boss criticized a project I'd spent months on. I came home upset and tried to talk to Marcus about it. He listened for maybe 2 minutes and then started telling me about a property deal he closed. He didn't ask any follow-up questions. He didn't seem to care that I was hurting. Marcus jumped in immediately. I did care. I just thought you needed distraction, not dwelling on it. I needed support. I was being supportive. I was trying to cheer you up by sharing good news. Dr. Chen held up a hand. I'm hearing that you both had different intentions and interpretations of that interaction. Marcus, you meant to be supportive by providing distraction. Lauren, you felt dismissed because you needed acknowledgement of your feelings. Both of those things can be true. We went to therapy every week for the next 2 months. We talked about communication styles and emotional needs and childhood attachment patterns. We did exercises where we had to look at each other and share appreciations and concerns. We practiced active listening. Some sessions felt productive. Others felt like we were just going through the motions, saying what we thought Dr. Chen wanted to hear. The truth was, I was watching Marcus the whole time for signs. Signs that he was checked out. Signs that he was thinking about someone else. Signs that therapy was a waste of time because he'd already decided he wanted out. But I didn't see those signs. He showed up. He participated. He tried. And slowly, I started to wonder if I was the problem. If my paranoia about a future that hadn't happened was actually creating the distance I was so afraid of. You seem distracted lately, Marcus said one night in June. We were having one of our weekly date nights, another thing Dr. Chen had suggested, at a nice Italian restaurant downtown. I'm not distracted. You are. You're here but you're not here. You're always watching me like you're waiting for me to do something wrong. My stomach dropped. I'm not. You are. Ever since that weird conversation back in March where you asked if we were happy, you've been different. Suspicious. Like you don't trust me. Do you give me a reason to trust you? What the hell does that mean? I didn't know how to answer. How do you explain that you're haunted by a betrayal that hasn't happened? Nothing, I said finally. I'm sorry. You're right. I've been in my head too much lately. But the damage was done. I could see it in his face. The hurt, the confusion, the beginning of resentment. And I realized something that made my chest ache. I was ruining my marriage anyway. Just differently this time. In my first timeline, I destroyed it with misplaced trust and a stupid anniversary gift. In this timeline, I was destroying it with suspicion and fear. Either way, we were ending up in the same place. July came. Our anniversary approached. Marcus didn't mention it until a week before. So, our anniversary, he said over breakfast. Should we do something? Go away for the weekend. In my first timeline, I'd suggested the whole pass around now. The proposal that had seemed so evolved and mature and had actually been the beginning of the end. Yeah, I said. Let's go somewhere. Just us. No distractions. We booked a cabin in the mountains. A long weekend, Friday through Monday. Away from phones and work and real life. I thought maybe it would help. Maybe being alone together, without the weight of our daily routine, we could reconnect. The drive up was quiet. Marcus played a podcast, something about real estate markets, and I stared out the window at the trees blurring past. The cabin was beautiful, exactly like the photos, rustic but comfortable, with a huge stone fireplace and windows overlooking a small lake. This is nice, Marcus said, carrying our bags inside. Good choice. That first evening was okay. We made dinner together, steaks on the grill, salad, wine. We sat on the deck watching the sunset. We talked about easy things, funny stories from work, shows we'd been watching, plans to renovate the bathroom. But that night, in bed, when Marcus reached for me, I froze. I couldn't stop thinking about Jenna. About the pregnancy. About the way he'd looked at me in that kitchen and said, I think I love her. What's wrong? Marcus asked, pulling back. Nothing. I'm just tired. Lauren, we haven't had sex in over a month. I know. I'm sorry. I've just been stressed. He rolled onto his back, staring at the ceiling. Is this what our marriage is going to be now? You constantly pulling away from me. I'm not pulling away. Yes, you are. You have been for months. Ever since you decided we had this big problem that I can't even see. Maybe that's the problem. That you can't see it. See what? That you've created this narrative in your head where I'm some terrible husband and nothing I do is good enough. That's not fair. Isn't it? I've been trying, Lauren. I've gone to therapy every week even though I think it's bullshit. I've done the date nights and the communication exercises and all of it. And you still look at me like I'm about to hurt you. He was right. God, he was right. I'm scared, I whispered. Of what? Of losing you. Of you choosing her over me. Of this marriage ending no matter what I do. But I couldn't say any of that. I don't know, I said finally. I'm just scared. He reached for my hand in the dark. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. But you have to let me in. You have to stop waiting for me to fail. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to let go of the future I remembered and trust this moment. This version of him who was trying. But I couldn't. Because I knew what he was capable of, even if he didn't. The rest of the weekend was strained. We went through the motions, hiking, reading by the lake, making meals, but the ease was gone. By the time we drove home Monday afternoon, I felt more disconnected from him than ever. August came. I started pulling back from Marcus in small ways. Staying late at work. Making plans with friends on weekends. Creating distance because it felt safer than intimacy. He noticed, of course. Are you having an affair? He asked one night, half joking but with an edge of real concern. What? No. Then what's going on? You're never home anymore. When you are home, you barely talk to me. I feel like you're already gone. I'm not having an affair. I need space right now. Space from what? From me. From us. From trying so hard to fix something that maybe can't be fixed. So you're giving up. I don't know what I'm doing. That was the truth. I didn't know. I'd thought coming back would give me a chance to save my marriage, but all I'd done was trade one kind of ending for another. In September, Marcus stopped trying. He stopped suggesting date nights. He stopped asking how I was. He started working later, coming home after I was already in bed. And I let him. Because at least this way, we were ending on my terms. I was choosing the distance instead of having it chosen for me. Jenna called in October. I'm moving back to Charlotte. My heart stopped. What? I got a job offer. Marketing firm downtown. I'm moving back next month. Where are you going to live? I found an apartment. 1 bedroom in Noda. It's expensive but I can swing it. Relief flooded through me. She wasn't moving in with us. She'd be in Charlotte, but with her own place, her own life. That's great, Jenna. I'm happy for you. Are you? Because you've been pretty distant since I asked for help back in April. I know. I'm sorry. Things have been complicated. Mom told me you and Marcus are having problems. We are. Are you getting divorced? The question hung there. Were we? I don't know, I said honestly. For what it's worth, I think you guys can work through it. You've been together forever. You're solid. I almost laughed. We weren't solid. We'd never been solid. We'd just been comfortable. And comfort had felt like enough until it wasn't. Jenna moved to Charlotte in November. I helped her move into her apartment, trying to rebuild the sisterly relationship I damaged by saying no back in April. Marcus came too, carrying boxes, making jokes, being his charming self. And I watched them. Watched for any sign of attraction, any hint of the chemistry I knew they were capable of. But there was nothing. They were friendly, appropriate, exactly how a brother-in-law and sister-in-law should be. Maybe it really had been proximity that created the problem. Maybe keeping them apart had been enough. Or maybe the attraction was still there, just dormant, waiting for the right moment to ignite. December came. The holidays. Jenna joined us for Christmas at our house, along with my parents who'd flown in from Florida. It was strange, pretending everything was fine. Pretending my marriage wasn't falling apart. Pretending I wasn't haunted by memories of a future that hadn't happened. My mother pulled me aside while we were doing dishes. You and Marcus seem distant. We're fine, Mom. You're not fine. I can see it. You're both miserable. I didn't know what to say to that. Sometimes, she said carefully, love isn't enough. Sometimes two people can love each other and still be wrong for each other. Are you saying I should divorce him? I'm saying you should stop trying to force something that isn't working. Life's too short to be this unhappy. After my parents left, after Jenna went home, after the decorations were put away and the house was quiet again, Marcus and I sat in the living room. We should talk, he said. Okay. I think we should separate. Even though I'd felt it coming, the word still hit hard. Okay, I said again. I'm not happy, Lauren. And I don't think you are either. I think we've been trying to save something that died a long time ago and we were both too stubborn to admit it. He was right. I knew he was right. When did it die? I asked quietly. I don't know. Maybe it never really lived. Maybe we got married because it's what we were supposed to do and we've been trying to make it make sense ever since. Do you love me? He took a long time to answer. I care about you. I want you to be happy. But am I in love with you? I don't think I have been for a long time. I nodded. I thought I'd feel devastated, but instead I just felt tired, relieved, even. I'm sorry, he said, for wasting your time. You didn't waste my time. We had 10 years. Some of them were good. Yeah, some of them were. We worked out the logistics over the next few weeks. He'd move out. We'd sell the house, split everything down the middle. File for divorce in the new year. It was all very civil, very adult. On the day he moved out, a cold Saturday in January, I watched him pack his car with boxes and suitcases. Jenna had come over to help, being supportive of both of us, trying to stay neutral. I saw the way Marcus looked at her when he thought I wasn't watching. Not quite attraction, but something. Interest. Maybe. Possibility. And I realized, it was probably going to happen anyway. Maybe not now, maybe not soon, but eventually. because the connection between them, whatever it was, existed independent of me, independent of proximity or opportunity. I couldn't control it. I'd never been able to control it. You okay? Jenna asked, coming to stand beside me on the porch as Marcus loaded the last box. Yeah, I think I am. It's weird, right? The end of a marriage. Even when it's the right thing, it's still weird. Yeah. Marcus finished loading and came over. I think that's everything. Okay. I'll call you next week about the realtor. Sounds good. We stood there awkwardly for a moment. Should we hug? Shake hands? What was the protocol for this? He surprised me by pulling me into a brief hug. Take care of yourself, Lauren. You too. And then he was gone. Jenna stayed for a bit, making sure I was okay, but eventually she left too and I was alone in the house that would soon not be mine anymore. I sat on the couch and waited to feel something. Sadness. Regret. Relief. Anything. But I just felt empty. I'd been given a second chance, this impossible do-over, and I'd still ended up divorced. I hadn't saved my marriage. I'd just delayed it, made it end differently. Less dramatically, maybe, but still an ending. What was the point of remembering the future if I couldn't change it? I spent the next few months in limbo. The house sold quickly. I moved into a small apartment in Dilworth, 1 bedroom, just enough space for me. I threw myself into work, taking on extra projects, staying late. My friends tried to set me up. You should date, Chelsea said. Get back out there. I'm not ready. You're never going to be ready. You just have to do it. I tried. I went on a few dates through apps. Coffee with an accountant who talked about his ex the whole time. Dinner with a teacher who was nice but boring. Drinks with a graphic designer who spent the evening explaining cryptocurrency to me. None of it felt right. None of it felt like anything. I started wondering if something was broken in me. If the memories of that other timeline had damaged my ability to trust, to connect, to believe in the possibility of love. In March, a full year after I'd woken up, I ran into someone at a coffee shop. His name was David, and I knew him vaguely from work. He worked in the IT department, one of those people you saw around but never really talked to. He was maybe 40, with graying hair and kind eyes. Lauren, right? He said. From HR. Yeah, David. That's me. You meeting someone? No, just grabbing coffee before work. Mind if I sit? The place is packed. We sat together. Started talking. Discovered we had more in common than I'd expected. We'd both gone through recent divorces. Both were trying to figure out what came next. Both were vaguely disillusioned with the whole concept of relationships. I keep thinking there must be something wrong with me, I admitted. Like I'm fundamentally broken in some way. I don't think you're broken, David said. I think you've been hurt and you're protecting yourself. That's not the same thing. Feels the same. Maybe, but one is permanent and one isn't. We started having coffee together regularly. Once a week turned into twice a week turned into standing lunch plans. It was easy, comfortable. He didn't push for more. Didn't ask probing questions about my divorce or why I seemed so guarded. He just showed up and was present and let me be whoever I needed to be that day. In June, almost 3 months after we'd started our coffee routine, he asked me to dinner. Like a date. I asked. If you want it to be. Or it can just be dinner. Your call. I thought about it for longer than I should have. Thought about all the ways it could go wrong. Thought about how I'd probably mess it up like I'd messed up everything else. Okay, I said finally. Let's call it a date. The date was good. Not perfect. Not some magical fairy tale, but good. He asked me questions and listened to the answers. He told me about his work, his kids from his first marriage, his love of hiking. He made me laugh. At the end of the night, standing outside the restaurant, he said, I'd like to do this again. If you would. I would. He kissed me. Brief, tentative, testing if I'd pull away. I didn't. We started dating properly after that. Slowly. I was skittish, prone to pulling back whenever things felt too intense or too real. But David was patient in a way Marcus had never been. He gave me space when I needed it and showed up consistently when I didn't. "You're waiting for me to hurt you," he observed one evening. We were at his place, cooking dinner together, and I'd gone quiet after he'd mentioned meeting his kids. "I'm not." "You are. Every time we get closer, you tense up. Like you're bracing for impact." I didn't know how to explain it. The trauma of a future that hadn't happened. The knowledge that people you love can betray you in the most fundamental ways. "I've been hurt before," I said carefully. "I know. So have I. But at some point, you have to decide if you're going to let that hurt define everything that comes after." Is that what I'm doing? I think so. And I get it. But I'm not him, whoever he was. I'm just a guy who thinks you're amazing and wants to see where this goes. But only if you're willing to actually show up for it. I thought about that for a long time. About how I'd spent the past year and a half so focused on not repeating the past that I hadn't been present for the present. About how I'd been so determined not to be blindsided again that I'd blinded myself to what was actually in front of me. "I want to show up for it," I said quietly. "I'm just scared." "I know. That's okay. We'll go slow." And we did. Month by month, I learned to trust him. Learned to trust myself. Learned that not every relationship ended in betrayal, that not every person would choose someone else over me. By the end of the year, I'd met his kids, 2 teenagers who were polite but wary of their dad's new girlfriend. He'd integrated into my life, meeting Chelsea and my other friends, coming to work events with me. Jenna noticed. "You seem happy," she said one evening. We'd been rebuilding our relationship slowly, sister dinners every few weeks, tentative but genuine. "I am happier than I've been in a long time." "I'm glad. You deserve it." "How are you? Still liking Charlotte?" "Yeah. I actually started seeing someone. His name's Tyler. He's a teacher." "Not Marcus," my brain noted automatically. "She's not with Marcus." "That's great, Jen." We talked about other things, her job, my job, holiday plans. Normal sisterly conversation. And I realized I'd been waiting for the other shoe to drop for almost 2 years now. Waiting for her and Marcus to get together, for the affair to start, for my worst fears to materialize. But it hadn't happened. Marcus and I were divorced, but not because of Jenna. Jenna was building her own life, dating someone else. The future I'd feared so desperately had simply not come to pass. Or maybe it had never been inevitable in the first place. Maybe in that first timeline, it had been a specific combination of circumstances, proximity, opportunity, my own obliviousness, that had created the perfect conditions for betrayal. This time, I changed those circumstances. Not perfectly, not without cost, but I changed them. I ran into Marcus in December, almost 2 years after our separation. He was at the grocery store with a woman I didn't recognize, blonde, petite, laughing at something he'd said. "Lauren," he said, surprised. Hey. This is Amy. Amy, this is my ex-wife Lauren." We exchanged pleasantries. She seemed nice. They seemed happy. After they left, I stood in the produce section holding a bag of apples and realized I felt nothing. No jealousy. No regret. No anger. Just nothing. Or not nothing, maybe peace. I texted David. Random question. "Do you want to spend Christmas with me?" He called instead of texting back. Is this a big step? Maybe. Yes. I think it is. Then yes. I'd love to. That Christmas was different from the one before. David met my parents, charmed them completely. We went to Jenna's apartment for dinner, and Tyler was there, and it was easy and comfortable. Jenna and David talked about photography. Apparently they both loved it. Tyler and I bonded over our shared confusion about cryptocurrency. It felt like a real family. A chosen one, maybe, but real. Lying in bed that night, David asleep beside me, I thought about that other timeline. The one where I'd suggested the hall pass and destroyed everything. Where Marcus had chosen Jenna and she'd gotten pregnant. Where I'd died on a rainy highway, desperate and broken. I didn't know why I'd been given a second chance. I didn't know if it had been real or just some elaborate coping mechanism my brain had created in the moments before death. Maybe I'd never know. But I knew this. I'd made different choices this time. Not perfect choices. I'd still ended up divorced, still hurt people, still struggled. But I'd been more honest, more present, more willing to see the truth even when it was uncomfortable. And somehow, on the other side of all that pain and mess, I'd found something real. Something that felt like mine. I couldn't control other people, couldn't prevent betrayal or guarantee happy endings. But I could show up honestly. I could choose to trust again, carefully, with eyes open. I could build something new instead of just trying to save something broken. The whole past had never been the problem. The problem had been a marriage that was already hollow, already held together by habit and fear and the sunk cost of 10 years. The problem had been me not wanting to see what was already broken because seeing it would mean admitting I'd wasted all that time. This time, I'd seen it sooner. Left sooner. Grieved the loss of what could have been and moved forward instead of clinging to the corpse of something dead. It wasn't a perfect ending. There was no dramatic vindication. No moment where Marcus realized what he'd lost. No fairy tale conclusion. But it was real. It was honest. It was mine. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything.